that old man got the tractor beam out of commission, or this is going to be a real short trip. Okay, hit it!
Hello, welcome everyone. I'll just ready everyone now. I'm driving. Insert female driving jokes in the comments, just so I can delete them later. Considering yesterday was International Women's Day, it would be really insensitive. But yeah, so Matt might join us later, and Jason. But for now, it's a packed house already. So yeah. Nathan, it's been a minute. Let's start with you. How's it going?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, not too bad, thanks. So I missed everyone. I felt a little bit left out last time I saw you guys go live. I was like, hey, where was my invite? I was actually busy that night, so I had other things to do.
Whatever.
Yeah. But no, yeah, it's nice to be back on. It has been a while, hasn't it? I don't remember the last time. Probably like a year ago, maybe not quite that long, but almost.
Yeah.
It was Celebration, wasn't it? Just before Celebration, Nath, wasn't it?
Did we do one afterwards?
I think we did one. We've done one since Celebration.
I think so.
We did one just before, one during, and then one a couple of months after, I think. And then that was my last one, I think. But yeah, it's good to. Thanks for having me back.
I think we're gonna be boring these original trilogy folks with some prequel stuff later. Just forewarning, they'll have to sit tight.
I've got to go.
I could talk about the prequels all day.
I'll feign interest. Don't worry.
Tony's
talk about the Phantom Menace. It's fine.
Yeah, Tony was complaining about internet issues earlier, and I don't believe it. I think he was sowing the seeds for an early exit. But Tony, how are you? It still looks like you'd be killed in an instant if there's an earthquake in your neck of the woods.
Well, somebody opening the door and closing it would probably do it. But running out of space. It looks even worse when I'm looking at it in the camera, actually. So, but no, it's great to be back on. It's been a while. Great to see you all. Great to see Nathan. It's been ages. Yeah. I think there's been quite a few releases as well since we were last on, so I think there's quite a bit to talk about. But no, it's great to see you all.
And because I'm driving, if there's anything you could think of that I didn't include, I'm coming off of a 1 week vacation, so I'm sure there's some stuff that has come out recently that maybe I wasn't on my radar. But we have certainly a few things to talk about. I will say I always love your collection and how it looks, just because when we look at videos or pictures from the archives, they don't look too dissimilar, quite honestly. Like, it's like they pack everything as much as they can into like a small space. So like even the Regal Robot maquettes, like when they pan over, I'm like,
they're just chucked on the shelf. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, that might still be Tony's collection.
No, it's really nice of you to say. I mean, if my I think I'm trying to squeeze the archives into a room the size of an ensuite toilet. So if I'm breaking any records, it'll probably be that. But I think we're all trying to make our collections look like that. And I think sort of like people like Regal Robot are making it possible, but very difficult at the same time financially. I'm sure we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And Parminder, I'm trying to see if much has changed with your backdrop.
No, not really.
So.
If anything, most of my maquettes are here on this side, which you can't see. But I've kind of slowed down, primarily because I'm running out of space as well. But also, it's more quality over quantity now. Just picking up a few bigger pieces, which tend to be more expensive, so they take a bit of time to save up for. But I still pick up the occasional hot toys. Like just pre-show, I said I picked up the C-3PO from our Return of the Jedi. But the OT releases are so few and far between, and I sold pretty much everything that wasn't OT last year, which freed up a little bit of space, but not a ton. So it's getting more difficult. collecting because of that. I'm finding it hard to part with pieces because I like what I have. Yeah, as Tony says, the likes of Regal Robot are making life difficult for us. Hard to pass on some of the stuff that they offer, primarily because a lot of it's from the OT and a lot of stuff that we saw in textbooks and videos back in the 80s and 90s. And they're making us collectors quite lucky to be offering those items now.
It certainly seems like when we talk about quality over quantity, and like a less is more approach, Regal Robot's the first we think of. I don't know if necessarily less is more approach, considering their maquette line is getting longer.
Yeah, and they're rattling them out as well. I think originally they were spacing out the releases, but I think Tony and I spoke at the end of last year, and we were hoping for a quiet start for 2024, and it's been anything but that, given the releases just from Regal. Obviously we've got RS teasing stuff as well, which is going to be tough to pass on. So we'll have to see how it pans out this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like it's been a rough 2024 so far, and it's only the beginning of March. How insane.
Indeed.
Oh, here's this guy.
Hey.
Hey.
So
can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right, awesome.
Yep.
Hey, Josh, how are you?
Well,
Okay.
We'll start with the latecomer, or we'll end with Jason then. How are you doing?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay.
We're just lamenting about how rough it's been in 2024 so far with releases and keeping up with things, and Regal Robot being an air in our side for that reason. It's like a love-hate relationship, I'd say.
Yeah, but some great stuff nonetheless. At least from Regal. Yeah, the other stuff as far as releases, it's been hard for me personally. Like, without getting into too much detail, I know some of you guys that are friends know some things that have been going on. It's been kind of hard to keep up with some of the things and just staying proactive. That's been tough, but yeah, I don't know what we're looking forward to, like with the year coming. Hot Toys seems to be knocking it out of the park. I got to give them that. I mean, as much as I, have pulled back and don't collect anymore, I mean, they've just been coming out with so many great figures, and they look fantastic. And I think, there's some decent statues lined up, a couple other things. So, I mean, so far so good. But yeah, the year's been off to a little bit of a slow start. I know we can talk about it later, but was excited to see the AT-AT from RS. So that's pretty exciting. I mean, that's huge, right? I think a lot of us are just as excited for that as we are the Bausch. So yeah,
that'll break the internet, I think, when that launches.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be the same or even more so, right? Than the Leia Bausch. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Depending on how it's priced, but yeah, I think there's a lot of interest already in that, and you see in the comments on the RS videos and all the groups where they've shared the RS videos, there's a ton of interest in that AT-AT. So
yeah, it's going to be a tough one.
It's going to be a scramble.
It is.
They put so much research into it as well. I think it's a really technical helmet as well. He looks it with all the greeblies and found parts on it. It's always been a fan favorite, isn't it? Even though it was only on screen for a couple of seconds. But I'm amazed how sort of rough it looks in terms of the actual helmet itself. I'm sure we'll talk about it a bit later, but you always imagine it being very sort of clean, and very clean. But when you see it up close, it's all sort of like oversprayed, and it's just been put together really, really quickly, I think, just to get it on screen. But that's what you're going to get from RS. Really, it's going to be a warts and all, finish. Because I think they released something a few years ago, didn't they? And they weren't happy with it, so they, it's probably taken them this long to sort of come up with a finished product. So, yeah, excited for it, but we're very worried about actually being able to secure.
I think you're right, Tony. I think a lot of people will be surprised by. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, mate.
Maybe
So
Jason's lagging.
He's frozen.
Oh,
Yeah, I
frozen.
think he may be lagging.
Yeah, I think.
Is it me?
Yeah, I think you're lagging a bit, mate. Yeah, when me and Palm went to visit RS last year, we were talking we didn't really see anything. Rob was just talking to us about some of the research, and he was just basically saying how rough the actual helmet is up close with the sort of, what I mean by rough, but just the overspray, where they've just sort of slot paint on it, and just to get it onto screen. And I think you see a lot of these helmets that are quite idealized, and you just have it in your head that it looks really, really pristine. But I think once we see the prototype, I think we'll see, it will look amazing, but it will be as it was on screen. So I think there's like paint all over the lenses and stuff like that. So it is, I think there's some images on Star Wars helmets. So I think there's a screen used one on there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm excited about, and I think you hit the nail on the head. I think we've had a few custom makers, we had Anovos and whatnot, and it's very idealized, right? Very clean cut and sharp, very sharp details. And then the whole aspect of it is it white versus gray, right? About a decade ago, a lot of custom makers are making them straight up white, like you would see on the Kenner figure. But yeah, it's a pretty crude helmet, and I think most collectors or diehards that are into the helmets and costuming would know also that they were originally TIE fighter helmets that were repurposed. So that's another thing. So I think they're going to be made as TIE helmets and then painted accordingly and, like you said, put together properly. So, it's going to be one of those things where some people might see it, be a little surprised by it. But I think, if anybody's going to do it the right way, it'd be RS. And yeah, man, this is going to be an epic piece.
Oh, definitely.
And I didn't get a chance to watch the Friday video, which is also why I didn't post it in the Facebook group. I'm slacking. I apologize. You can fire me later. But I've been on vacation last week, and so I didn't get a chance. But I do think, at least from what Rob told me when I was there, is that I'm still amazed that they had access to one of the two, because they only made the two. So I think that, and this came up with the Bausch, obviously, like if you have budget constraints, they haven't said, I'm assuming they haven't said price or ETA or anything like that, because I've seen people asking about that. But I know when the Bausch situation came up with people who were priced out, they were like, well, look to custom makers. I think if you can't swing the RS AT-AT, regardless of whether the price is obtainable, because we don't even know what it is, I think that you could always go towards those custom makers or those idealized helmets, but just you have to know what you're buying, that it's going to be idealized. And that if you want something as accurate as possible, that's what RS is in the market to make. So yeah, I'm very excited for it. I think it'll go fantastic next to a certain Wampa. So yeah, I've got a shelf picked out specifically. It's been open, that shelf, for a few years now, for an AT-AT driver helmet. So looking forward to that. Anything else that you guys wanted to? I've got a few links queued up because I am a little OCD about that. But if there's anything else, and we will talk Hot Toys. I do have the AT-AT driver video pulled up as well. I don't know if we'll be able to hear it, but at least if we want to watch Rob fondling a beautiful helmet, we can. But Rob has been invaded by Germans. So Dan and Dennis are there at RS. So we won't be seeing him over here tonight. I'll see if he can at least check the replay out. But let me see.
Invaded by Germans. That might get us canceled.
We've said forward.
I just realized what you said there.
Yeah, the algorithm doesn't like that one.
Not again.
I mean, if the popcorn bucket, the Dune popcorn bucket, didn't get us canceled, I don't know. I don't know at this point. I think the threshold's quite high.
They didn't have any of those popcorn buckets when I went yesterday. Very disappointed.
I heard they were I actually watched a few cast interviews, where the cast do their like walk and repeat, so to speak. And a lot of them were saying that with like after preview night and then into like opening night, they were pretty much gone. And then even on John Campea, I watched a few runs of that, and they were saying like they're not even sure if they're going to restock them. But so many people are flipping them, it's
Of
like,
course.
It still would have been fun for the novelty.
I managed to find one on this dodgy website, but
You sure it was a popcorn bucket?
Does it hurt?
Something looks similar, but I don't. Maybe I got confused. I don't know.
Is it soft silicone or is it painful?
Send me a link, I'll check.
I mean, I wouldn't know, Jay. I wouldn't know.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you got it in.
Nathan, just send Jason the link later, just offline. I'm sure he'll have some questions.
My local theater actually they didn't have that because it wasn't an AMC. It's a small town where we're at, but they did have some, like the cup was kind of cool. It was like a novelty cup, but the cap was like a legit sort of like, I don't know how to, it was basically the Atreides house like logo on the cap. And it's like, yeah, but it's like a hard plastic like piece. It was pretty cool. And then it just had like the reverse emboss.
You should have been like, tell your theater, hey, I've seen far better ones. Oh, he's lagging again. Okay. Yeah, I almost sent you guys a joke about that where some guy was like, yes, I like the popcorn bucket, but can I get extra butter, no popcorn? I was like, oh. On that note,
I mean, the one I saw looked like it wouldn't really fit much popcorn at all, so I don't see the point.
Yeah, one tenth scale popcorn. So Jay and I talked about this with Matt, but it'd be nice to get everyone else's thoughts on the Wampa, because I'd say that's been the biggest release, besides maybe the Hot Toys that everyone's been very excited about. That I know Tony's gonna have internet issues for when we get to him. But did any of you guys jump on this? By the way.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. And did you go for the Matt's really overpriced edition or the signature edition?
Went with the sketch.
Yeah, with the sketch. Yeah.
Okay. I did as well. I think so. I will say, ever since Matt mentioned it, I have thought about it, that his main issue with it was the base. That it would have looked better if it was set up almost like the Chewie bust, where the fur was like hanging down as opposed to just flat on the black base. But I don't think that certainly wasn't a deal breaker for me.
No, nor me. I think this is how it appears in the archives anyway. It's on a base just like that, rather than. I can see where Matt's coming from, because I think originally when Real teased it, I wondered whether it would be on a similar type of stand as the other bus that they do. But I'm quite pleased that it's like this, because actually it saves some space, and every millimeter counts. So yeah, this actually will fit quite nicely into the cabinet I have. Whereas I think if it was on a pole, it probably wouldn't have.
It's true.
Yeah, I like that it mimics how it sits in the archives. I like that. I like that it changes some of this.
I mean, I think they've finished it really sort of sympathetically, really, because it's a difficult prop to. If you think about it, it's not really what I call like a 360 prop. It was put together so quickly, and it's only designed for a front facing camera shot, isn't it? And if you look in the chronicles, there's that picture of the back of the Wampa puppet, and it's just rammed full of like furniture upholstery, and then you've got the mechanism hanging out of the back for pushing the head forward, and then you've got 4 feet of fur that they had to hang over that rig just to give them different sort of camera angles. So, Tom's had to make, Tom and his team have had to make a sort of decision on, how best to sort of replicate it. And I think they've got the balance perfect for this. Really, I think it's an incredible piece. I mean, I've said it on our group a couple of times. I think it's the best replica that they've come out with since the original Chewie head. And that's my opinion, because of my connection with Empire. And I just think this is amazing. Absolutely amazing. We need Matt on here to balance the argument properly. But I think also the fur as well. I think to me, it's like a polar bear. You look far away and they look white. You go close up to them, then you see all the yellowing and the mottling of the fur. And I think, there's that, we've seen that outside shot. I think Robert Regal took just the daylight shot. And I think this will be like the Tuscan. When you get it in hand, you'll really start to see all the little fine details in the fur. And nobody else, who else is going to produce something like this? This is in their wheelhouse, isn't it? So, and it's one of those props that's in it's in the archives, but it features in the Chronicles, the Star Wars and Indiana Jones book. It's in there, and it was the prop that fooled us. I mean, I watched. I mean, I'm old enough to. I watched this as a kid with my dad for the first time, and we just thought it was a man in a suit. We didn't know how they did it, and it was only years later when the book came out and YouTube started to come out that you saw the behind the scenes videos, and you just saw what they did. And it was basically Phil's puppet sold the whole thing, really sold the whole character. And then you had the fake arm, and then you had some very distant shots of the guy in the suit. And it was only a special edition where they've changed it. But for me, I don't think the man in the suit works at all. I think Phil's puppet is the Wampa. So, but yeah, that's my take on it. I think it's incredible piece.
I have to agree with you, Tony. The detail. Yeah, it is incredible in the detail, right? Like you said, it's kind of deceiving as you look at it this way because it looks pretty clean, and then when you see the images of it, as it sits, it's looks pretty dingy. But when they took those shots in daylight, you really got to see all those nuances of discolorations and further detail really pop out. And I think that's what Regal really does best, right? Is just not missing a beat when it comes to like the small little details that you otherwise wouldn't notice. It's kind of like a blink and you miss it type thing. And I'm sure you can go through this thing with a fine tooth comb and notice all kinds of little things. And that's why, they are, there's a reason why the name is Regal, right? Regal Robot. No pun intended. And then this whole idea of the archive collection, I mean, it's so fitting. It really is like peanut butter and jelly. And I can't think of anybody who would do it better. And I'm so glad that they're going in this direction because you're right. This is definitely an amazing piece.
I think
Sure.
It's really difficult because for me, the collecting is sort of, you look at the prop as a prop replica, and then you look at the emotional attachment you've got to, my emotional attachment is to the film, but I clearly remember the Wampa scene as a child. I got the toy much later on, and then you marinate all that together, and it's very, you end up making probably not a rational decision when you buy collectibles anyway. No, it's not really rational, it's emotional. And anything really from Empire is very difficult for me to resist. I mean, me and Palm were talking about this prior to it, because I think he sort of teased two prop replicas from Empire, didn't he? Put it on his sort of release schedule, and we were all sort of guessing. And I think me and Palm said, let's just hope he doesn't do the Wampa puppet. And it was and as soon as it got teased, we thought, actually, I just before we get onto price, I actually thought this was going to be the higher of the two. That's how important I think
that's what we thought.
Replica is. I thought this was going to be the higher price one over the actual. I think he's going to do an idealized special edition head, isn't he? But for me, this is, if you're gonna have something in your collection that's Wampa related, this for me is the piece to have.
Now, let me ask you and Parminder this, because one of the, I'm very biased. Jason's very biased. Like, we both love art prints, original art. So the sketch, I think, is a great addition, and it's a great thing that they keep doing. But I'm trying to bring in the bad cop of Matt being like, well, that was quite expensive for just a sketch. So what was the difference for you? What made you want to get the sketch edition versus the signature? Is it that it's a lower edition size, or did you just appreciate what the sketches, the ones we've seen so far, look like?
I mean, I think given it's Phil Tippett, who's a legend in our books, having something that's hand drawn from him is pretty special. Even though we don't, I mean, I certainly don't collect art. I don't have space for wall art, but this actually is works for me because it will display quite nicely with the prop itself on a shelf. So for me, it kind of ticks a few boxes, not being able to display art anywhere else. If you look at some of the prices of hand-drawn sketches that have been sold on Prop Store, perhaps not from Phil, but we've seen some stuff that Nilo has done in the past. They sell for within the price range that Tom is asking for these sketches, on top of the signature edition. So yeah, it's just because it's just drawn by a legend as far as I'm concerned, and I think probably Tony feels the same way.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the sketches that he's done on this are more focused around the Wampa. I mean, I'm a bit concerned about the Rancor ones. I think they're a bit more Mad Dog than Rancor, but we'll wait and see. Yeah, I mean, for me, Phil is a legend. All the ILM guys are really, and yes, I can totally see Matt's point of view with regarding that. But to get a hand-drawn sketch from the guy, I mean, it's not just an artist sketch; it's the guy that actually did the prop. So I think in years to come, I'm hoping I've made the right decision. The only thing I'm a bit concerned about going forward is the way. I don't know whether they should have just kept the Legacy edition with the signature and don't have a signature edition, just to make that Legacy one a little bit more special, and just have a numbered edition for the others. It's a difficult one, that it really is, because I'd like the idea of maybe separating the two a little bit, but
well, Phil will sign anything, right? So he's quite happy to sign as much as he can. The one thing that concerns me, just on in addition to what Tony's saying, is that after a certain point, these framed displays are going to become difficult to display, right? I mean, it sounds like the majority of the releases that are coming are going to have either a signature edition or a legacy edition, and then if you start picking up all the legacy editions, it starts to become very difficult to pass on all the other legacy editions, and that's the road we're taking, right? But that in itself means that displayability becomes a problem. So it's difficult, because we picked up the Rancor as well, and that's the legacy edition. And then we picked up the and I say we because Tony and I pretty much pick up the same things. We picked up the Prune Face, and that was a legacy edition as well. So we're setting a bit of a precedence in our collections for ourselves, and that's going to become difficult, I think.
It is. I mean, I think when he initially did these, I thought he was only going to do the Rancor, and then obviously it looks like
the odd one here and there.
Yeah, the odd one here and there. But if this is the rate that he's going, whether I can keep this up indefinitely or not, I don't know. I mean, it's also the rate the maquettes are being released. I'm so into the line, though. It's very difficult for me to probably rationally say, oh yeah, I'm going to pass on the odd maquette here and there, but because I'm so into the line, I love it. I really do. It just connects with everything I love about Star Wars, the making of it, the toys. It's all the ones he's brought out so far. They've all had figures made of them, so very it taps into that nostalgia that I was talking about earlier. So, but I was going to ask you, Cece, because obviously I'm not that much into art, but I appreciate it, and I appreciate the sketches we're getting. Are you drawn? I just noticed. Are you drawing more into this maquette line now that more legacy editions are starting to be released? I mean, Ken Ralston's going to do one as well. Are you? Would that draw you into collecting the maquette, just not just for the art, but as the combination of the two?
I think I'm still incredibly selective, especially with the maquette line. Like I think I will have regrets not getting the Rancor concept maquette with the sketch. That being said, I have enough friends who, including one in the chat, who have no problem messaging me when someone goes to sell theirs, sell the pre-order. So I don't think I'll have an issue going backwards necessarily on some of those, but I think that I was going to always be interested in the Wampa regardless, but the sketches do intrigue me. I think I'd be hard pressed to get a maquette just because I want the sketch, but who knows? I think it really, with all the maquettes, like I only have the Tauntaun ones, and then of course this, but I think it would really just depend on the creature. And I will say this, because I don't think we've talked about it much, but I'm pretty sure both of you are kind of doing the autograph signature stuff.
Yeah, that's a rabbit hole that Tony and I do often discuss, saying, what have we got ourselves into?
Well, I played Parminder for all of it, but I mean,
I have a friend who collects not only art prints and art, but like signed. Like he lives in LA, he gets all of his stuff autographed, and that's a rabbit hole I definitely don't want to go under. And I'm not too big. Like, how many Phil Tippett signatures do we need? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't even display those plaques. But I do see me going down that rabbit hole. Like, I do have a Nilo sketch. It was from the prop store auction years ago. I actually got it for less than what it sold in like 2018, which is surprising. But that price is what made me think of this sketch where I'm like, well, actually, not that I'm following Phil Tippett's original artwork very closely, but when you look at concept artists and what their sketches have gone for, like, that Rick Baker Bith alien sketch, just the head sketch.
That was great offering.
$300.
Yep. So that, I think that kind of gives you an idea. So I could see Imperial Walker Inc. causing me to spend more money on sketches, because I think that like I have a Doug Chang sketch, I have the Nilo sketch. Getting sketches from concept artists are really intriguing to me. But yeah, so if Regal Robot decided to ever do like a side gig of just doing the sketches with these plaques, I'd be down for it. But I don't know if I have space for the maquette and the sketch, or a love for a lot of these creatures to get both. That's my long-winded answer. That it really depends. It will depend on like what comes out. But
and on those maquettes, a lot of people are backpedaling now, aren't they, and buying the ones that they missed out on, and some of them are just going for ridiculous prices. I mean, like the Jabba the Hutt.
It's getting crazy though.
It is.
Speaking on that, I'm noticing there's one or two people in particular that are sort of taking advantage of that and like
I've seen
flipping them. Yeah, and it's becoming an issue because it's driving. It's kind of like what happened with the Chronicles book, right? Where you could buy it all day for $150, $200, and then someone had accumulated about 4 or 5 of them, and then they were going for $400, and all of a sudden they're $1,000. It's like, and that's what's happening to the maquettes. People are paying $1,000, $1,500, not realizing that like just a month ago or 2 months ago, these same maquettes you can get for $100 over retail or retail.
Indeed.
On
retail,
the secondary.
Yeah,
and it's getting crazy because like it's one of those things where I think it hurts the market a little bit for those who truly want the pieces and want to create the full collection. Because we all get around to passing off pieces to offset other things coming into the collection and so on and so forth. But and Regal pieces are already priced accurately accordingly, right? They're on the higher end, and I think they're done so for a lot of reasons. Not just the quality, but seeing that happen is a little bit of a bummer. But again, moving forward, a lot of people are gonna want to fill in those holes and complete that collection. Going into the art part, that's hard for me only because I appreciate the art. I like the art. But as we discussed last time, Cece, when we were on with the chat with Matt, a fellow collector had mentioned to me what happens a year or 2 years down the road when you have 10 or 15 of these frames. Do you display them on their own? Do you display them with their corresponding piece? How does that work? And that will eventually become a thing where, you have to take that into consideration.
I mean, even the normal size plaques. I mean, if you got 20 maquettes collected next to each other, to have all those plaques out I think it will actually. It's better to display them without the plaques. I think you'll get to a point where the plaques, doesn't matter whether the standards, 3.5 by 3.5 that come out, that's still quite a amount of space they take up. So I can see eventually I'll end up having no choice but to display the maquettes without the plaques anyway. But I think the law of just getting, I think this sketch, what Regal are offering is I think it's a fantastic offering actually, in terms of getting these hand drawn sketches by the people that created the maquettes or the props. Now I totally get the argument that they're 2-minute sketches, but Phil's spent years. I certainly couldn't draw like that, even if I spent the next 10 years learning. And it is, and they're all individual as well. There is that side of it. But it's first world problems, isn't it? I mean, it's. I think it's worth the extra. I thought it was worth the extra. I didn't think about it once I saw. I was a bit concerned about his sketching, because I think the Rancor ones were a bit, like I said, a little bit mad dog. I thought he'd gone all over the place. I'm a little bit concerned what I'm going to end up with, but I think the Wampa ones, they all look really, really good.
This one here, I think, was one that a few people talked about. Like, goodness, I don't know if I want to get the teeth and the open mouth. It kind of reminds me. It's giving Dune popcorn bucket. From the top view, like every other one I thought was amazing. I know he did one that was like a full body sketch. The other thing, I'm going to go a little backwards and go away from the sketch stuff for a little bit, maybe for a second. Like I said, I was on vacation and I'm not religiously following the maquette line, and I missed the live stream because I was working. But it sounds like at least one of the maquettes they're going to redo as just a signature edition, or
numbered edition.
No, a numbered edition.
Yeah, the re-ease.
Numbered.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so numbered and no signature. And
so the original was just a signature edition. The original was yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
That's what they'll end up with. Yeah. Or the weekway. So the weekway was available as a signature and a non-signature. So I think Reuse was only available as a signature when released, and because there's been such demand for it, they're going to do a non-signature numbered edition, which means that those that have the signature edition will still retain its value.
Right. I saw a few people were a little, I don't know if salty is the right word, but they saw it as going backwards. And I do wonder, when we're talking about the market value for these, if some of those people who maybe bought the signature edition at a higher price than they would have wanted are now going to be disappointed that they're doing one that's numbered. Or part of me, I think they should just stick to a formula. Either it's all signature editions or it's signature edition and number edition. But now with these legacy editions, does that mean they're going to, like, depending on what I don't think you can get a more popular character than the Rancor and the Wampa, to be fair. But do you think that they would go backwards and do some of these legacy editions to be able to include a sketch for the people who have to collect it all?
On that, if I give my input, I can't tell if it's my internet that's lagging anyways. If you guys can give me some feedback, that'd be great. But my input on that, CC, is going back and doing the numbered versus signature. I get some of the concerns, right? But some of the things that were thrown out were a little bit ambitious. Like, well, does that mean you're going back and doing Rancor and Salacious? And it's like, guys, these are maquettes. And you have to keep in mind that other than Jabba, every single one has been released as a dual release, either numbered and signature or signature and legacy. Now, doing the legacy when you're pre-planning it, that's the artwork being done in tandem with the run. I think backtracking might be a little bit more difficult, right? Because, making the piece is one thing, setting up the signing and the art and all that, it takes time. It does take time. And for people to say, oh, X amount of dollars for just a little sketch, I mean, you're getting an original work of art, right? But back to the question, which is, will they backtrack? That's something I don't see them doing. It's not impossible. It's not to say that they never will. And I don't have firsthand knowledge, but just in my opinion, I don't think they'll go that far. But I wasn't as upset about the reuse as somebody who owns a signature edition, only because every other piece, as I mentioned, was other than Jabba and the original Tauntaun was released as Jabba was just a one-off, right, numbered, and the Tauntaun was just the signature. You didn't have two versions, so the Reese, had just the signature edition. So now having it numbered, there's a lot of people who wanted that, and that was one of the fastest-selling maquettes. Like Dill David saying, Jabba was a shelf warmer, and man, he was. I remember this is back 2.5 years. I did an unboxing with Jabba. I think Gabe had joined us at the time. We both did like a dual unboxing, and that's how long ago this was. And people just like ragged on it. They made fun of it.
Yeah.
And I was excited to have gotten that because it was an auction about 15 years ago, and it was very affordable, very, very affordable. One of the originals. There were two made of that particular one. So to be able to own it, a replica of it, I was very happy. And the thing just sat. It just sat. Nobody wanted it. And then Dill's right. I mean, people are paying $1,000+ for the thing, which is madness to me. I mean, it's that's a lot. However, re-releasing certain things, I think taking certain things into consideration isn't all that bad. I don't know, like, and then there's other arguments, right? Like where Tony said, having the Legacy edition, it would be nice if that was like the signature plus the artwork, hence Legacy, and then the other one was just a number. That makes a little bit more sense to me. But I also understand that they have to make it, sort of enticing as well. And the artwork on the Whomper, I could be wrong, but what this reminds me of, especially with the teeth up close, is almost as if Phil was doing sort of like, when you're looking at like the scene layout. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
storyboard. That's kind of like what it reminds me of why he sketched it that way. Yeah, it's kind of the idea that I was getting, which I like. But you're right. As it stands on its own, it's kind of like, well, I don't want just an eyeball or a tooth, right? It's nobody wants to be that guy, but at the same time, I mean, well, it's going to happen. Somebody's going to get that.
Yeah, somebody's going to get it. Somebody's going to get it.
I'm really worried what the Rancor sketch is going to be. I'm a little bit concerned about that.
When you said that, Tony, I was thinking, and I thought of this about a month ago. I was like, there's eventually going to be a time where I'm flicking through the hyperdrive or something, and somebody's like, "Hey, I got this sketch. Does somebody want to trade for this sketch?" And it's only a matter of time before that starts happening.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could see that.
I'm willing to trade this one plus 300 for yours, or it's inevitable.
Like trading Pokemon cards or something like that back in the day.
That's right.
I had to throw in a reference for Nathan to make sure he hadn't fallen asleep with all the but we'll be trading these sketches like Pokemon cards. I will say, and Jason knows what I'm talking about. Like I don't do a lot of commissions when it comes to original art, but the ones I have done, it is kind of a gamble. And this is kind of what it feels like. Like you don't know what sketch you're getting. It's a free for all. You can't ask them which one you want. You can't pick one out specifically. So it is kind of like when you commission certain art, some artists are really receptive to changes or what you want. And in others, it's like you give them a character and that's it. I'm getting one this weekend that was like that. So I think there's a bit of excitement because it means that you could end up with something that you didn't think you were going to get, but you still appreciate it for what it is. Or there's like the teeth and the eyeball situation.
I think it's good they're random, and it's not like number one gets the best, and if you got number 100, then tough luck, you've got a tooth. But
you're 100% correct. I do feel though that there might be a potential for like the Rancor or the Whomper, or even like Pruneface and such, right? That somebody who has a really, really nice drawing, a really desirable drawing, might be able to command a little bit more of a premium on the resale.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like let's say a resale is averaging 1,000 over retail, they might be able to ask 12 or 1,300 over retail because they have a very desirable drawing. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it's not it's the luck of the draw, right? No pun intended.
They're one of a kind, and that's kind of the downside to one of a kind is yours will certainly be unique, and no one will have one like it. But it also means if you're not crazy about it, you could easily trade these like Pokemon cards, like I said. As long as you don't care about the numbers matching or whatever. I don't know if the number is going to be on the base of this, but that is something I'd consider.
No, it'll just be on the plaque.
Oh, even better. there's no evidence to suggest that you didn't like your sketch. And yeah, black market dealings. So next up, unless
We might
is
see
there
some
anything
color
else?
sketches moving into the future too.
Well, Ken Ralston's one that's been previewed this color for Klaatu.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
multicolored.
Yeah, Ken Ralston's art is fantastic, and I think this will be another. And if he's doing multicolor as well, which it looks like I think he is. His will be really sought after as well. But he's a fantastic artist. I'm just concerned about how much that one's going to be, because this is the Klaatu one is a bigger maquette, so I think slightly bigger than Weequay, I think maybe. But that'll be interesting to to see his sketches, whether they vary at all. But I've seen some of his sketches in the past. They're really funny.
And he doesn't do too much publicly, so I like getting unique stuff, especially from Ken.
I was going to say, Jay, this will be really unique because he doesn't, like you said, he doesn't really do a lot, does he? So
yeah.
Was there anything, before I move on to some things we've got queued up, was there any original trilogy stuff that you wanted to talk about before Tony's acting up? I just wanted to check.
No, good. Let's give Nathan some love.
Okay.
Board. I can see.
Bring Nathan in.
All right, let's see. Let's go in order.
Thank you.
Oh, OT.
Come on.
Great.
Oh, there we go. That's fine, Cece. Absolutely fine.
I always say that.
This looks banging.
Everyone knows. I'm not big into Hot Toys, but I saw February 1st, and I was like, you know what? Let's talk about it, because I cannot imagine we talked about it since it came out. But how can I do? How's that?
That's fine.
It does look very helmet head, though, I will say. And I'm sure someone's mentioned the hair.
But it was the 80s. That's how his hair looked, didn't it?
I'm not really an expert on that, CC. So
I can talk about hair.
Nathan?
Well, yeah, you're right. Like, some people have mentioned the hair, it looking a little bit too, like helmety, I guess. But it's hard because his hair in the film, it's the same. It's the right style and stuff, but it's hard to do what his hair looked like with plastic, to recreate it. So I think, on the whole, I mean, I have no problem with it. This is
great head sculpt. I think it's a great head sculpt.
This is one of my top figures on my wish list that I wanted was an Endor Han, because I've got a Luke and a Leia and a Wicket and the whole Endor setup, and Han was the one that was missing. So, and obviously, I mean, I don't know if you know, but like, there literally hasn't been Han Solo since, apart from the Force Awakens one, there hasn't been a young Han Solo since like 2015, I think, 2016.
Oh wow!
So
the Stormtrooper.
Yeah, the Stormtrooper one. Yeah. So it's been a while, and people were calling.
I do wish it was the ESB one.
Yeah,
I think that's coming. I think they're purposely waiting to release that, because that's going to be like, once that comes out, nobody else, they won't buy another Han Solo. I think it's like very much like the C-3PO release. I think they purposely released the Return of the Jedi one first, because if they released A New Hope one, which is probably slightly more iconic, then people wouldn't buy the
They did that Pomenda with the C-3PO, because they released the Attack of the Clones one
right
before, and then they released so people that just wanted the C-3PO got the Attack of the Clones one, and
they need people to double dip, right?
Well, yeah. But if they'd done it the other way around, it would have been great. Yeah, this is.
It looks great.
I think it's great sculpt. Yeah.
Spot on.
What's the difference? I don't think there's much difference in terms of if you got a blue jacket made somehow.
Well, his hair's shorter in ESB, though, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. But then, the part in terms of outfit, I think the shirt I think the shirt's the same, isn't it? Because he's got a different shirt in A New Hope, but then he's got. But then if you take the waistcoat off and the trench coat, and you get like a ESB jacket, you've pretty much got ESB Han.
Yeah, I think people are. I think from what I've seen on Sideshow Freaks, a lot of people are picking two of these up, so they can do exactly that. Convert one to Bespin Han. Yeah, but I'm sure Hot Toys will release a Bespin Han. I can't see them not doing that. I think originally we just thought Harrison Ford would basically.
They won't miss that chance.
Yeah, they won't miss that chance. Yeah, I think a lot of people were thinking that Harrison Ford was stopping Hot Toys producing any more that used his likeness because of that show that he did.
People think he's
Jimmy Fallon, was it?
Yeah, he ripped the head off that. Yeah, New Hope one. Didn't he?
Yep.
That's right.
I think what happened. I mean, I don't know how true this is, but obviously, because of the new Indiana Jones, he had to sign off on his likeness. The Hot Toys made an old Indiana Jones, so they had the Harrison Ford likeness for that. So maybe they had a small window to get this Han Solo.
Yeah, perhaps
before Harrison changes his mind again.
I
think you can almost.
So I was going to say, it blows my mind that.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think I'm stuttering here, guys. My bad. I think it's my internet. I was going to say, not to go off topic, but it blows my mind. The man who is Han Solo, Indiana Jones, and Blade Runner is as bitter as he is about being a sci-fi character. It's crazy to me. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't think of anybody else who's played so many like iconic roles and just it's
Indeed.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Well, he likes Indiana Jones, doesn't he? But he's a bit bitter about Han Solo.
It's so strange because you're right. And it's funny because as far as his work goes, I'm more of a fan of what he did with Indiana Jones than I am with Han Solo. That's strange, but it is what it is. I don't know what. It's almost like he wishes people appreciate Indiana Jones like they did Star Wars, and they're out there. They are. It's just it's not.
It's probably not got such a big following. Yeah.
No,
I mean, it's certainly got a big following, but nothing like. But then, I think a lot of the Star Wars following stems from the toys. I vividly remember, obviously, being a kid at that time, the Star Wars toys, but there wasn't that many. I mean, they did do a line of Indiana Jones figures, but they were nowhere near as popular as the Star Wars line. So, I think a lot of the fandom stems from that initial merchandising.
I think what we see today isn't. I mean, you talk to guys in the model community, in the found parts community, and you ask, how many of them rewatch the movie regularly, or about the storyline, and it's just about like the nostalgia and the sentiment. That's where it's at. And a large part of the nostalgia is the vintage figures, like pulling open that card, or being at Toys R Us or Child World, or wherever you were, whatever your shop was, Pal Toy, etc. And that feeling,
staring at that wall of toys, right?
Yeah, when they used to, and we all seen those old pictures that people post online, and that's what the stores looked like when we were kids, and Christmas morning, like opening up the AT-AT or the Falcon, like you can't beat that feeling, man. I mean, we're some of us are reaching 50, 60 years old and we're still chasing that high, it's crazy.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Well, I think it's the main reason most of us. I mean, I've said it so many times, but it's the main reason why most of us are of our age a collector. I'm sure it is for Nathan as well with the prequels. The whole the toys. Maybe slightly different impact because it was the first time when we were kids. This was the first real range of like toys and action figures that at that size that really you could world build with. I mean they were releasing that all those Cantina creatures. I mean it was vast, wasn't it? I mean I know the prequels was even more, but some of the figures you look back at the Kenner figures, some of them like Walrus Man and Snaggletooth and stuff like they were barely in it like a second, weren't they? And it was they made an action.
But they're iconic because of the figures, more so than their presence in the movies, right? And I think again, just very quickly going back to Regal Robot, one of the things that I said about CZ3 when that was released, it was such a left field choice for Tom because he loved that character. But I think a lot of people passed on it because there was never a Kenner figure of
action
it.
figure.
And that was certainly one of the reasons why I
Yeah.
passed on it, because it was like, I don't have a connection to this, not because it wasn't in the movie, but because there was no Kenner figure of it. You look at the Regal Robot maquettes that they're doing.
They're all action figures.
Every single one of those was made as an action figure. Everything that he's made so far in the archive collection was an action figure or a creature that you could have bought as a kid. And again, that's
I didn't
probably
even think
one
of
of the
that
reasons
part,
why
Miller.
I'm so invested. Yeah.
You're right,
I
but
think-
psychologically, I
I
didn't even think of that.
I think Tom realizes that.
I think Tom knows that. Yeah, yeah. You could quite easily display a vintage figure with all of the maquettes. I'm pointing to the ones I've got here, and
Yeah.
I mean, well, look at the Whomper. He even posed some of the Kenner figures.
he did. Well, again, he knows. He knows.
Yeah.
He
We
knows
should have
so
a
much.
fine print though, like figures not included.
Not included. Yeah, that's right.
Did you guys see that? There was a Star Wars Insider magazine out, and they listed they had all the Regal sort of maquettes and the Rancor, and I think the Tusken Raider bus was in there. And I thought that is one expensive card back. Looking at that, if you're going to try and tick those off, but that's it's the reason why we've got all this stuff in our rooms is really all to do with the figures and the films. You know, it's
and that what you just mentioned too, Tony. That's another thing. If you think about the card backs, I always wonder, and I look at some of the mock-ups and the designs. Had the card backs gone in any other direction and been bright or vivid or like boisterous, like I don't think it would have been the same. The art and the style of the card backs was just such a perfect recipe.
It was
even that yellow when you're looking at the figures lined up in the back, just everything about that was like the perfect mix at the perfect time, and it just the race stripes. I don't know, like they just hit it right on the head, and then that was it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I was going to say on that note, I'm just waiting to splash cold water on all of you guys. With the next, just so you know, that's why I'm like, I'm killing time.
Yeah, we need Matt in here. Really, it's too much of a loving for.
It's too positive in here today.
We like what we like. It's yeah.
Well, let's see if Tony has internet issues when I pull this up. I think this is more for Nathan, perhaps. I will say a lot of people seemed really excited about this, and it looked like there was even some back and forth as to some people who thought this was not going to get made.
No, it was. I think obviously, I think it was going to eventually, but there was a bit of a up until recently there was a bit of a lull on the Ahsoka figures, and people thought they were just done with that line and they were moving on to other stuff. But again, a bit like the Han, this was a Padawan Ahsoka was on my wish list, has been for years, and I think I think it looks pretty good. You know, the obviously it is from the TV show, so her outfit is different in terms of from what she had in the Clone Wars as Padawan Ahsoka, but I think they changed it to be a bit more PC, so there wasn't a teenage girl in a crop top.
Oh, it's true. I'm sure.
What about mind you, the arm joints? Any concerns with that? Because they have when they've gone with a single skin on that, some of them have ruptured, haven't they?
I think I don't know if there's. Yeah, it looks like it's probably like a single arm. Like I mean, that's the same as the season 7 Clone Wars one. And as long as you're like, I haven't bent the elbows really much. As long as you're careful with it. I've got the sideshow animated Clone Wars Ahsoka as well, and that's the same. That's like a fully silicone body, so you can't like do anything really with it. But you know, unfortunately, to get I'd much rather not be able to pose it amazingly than have
the realism. Have the realism, yeah.
Yeah,
I think this
Yeah,
is the
'cause
one
I
thing that
remember-
Hot Toys do, though, right? They release characters that you're not going to see in statue form from Sideshow, for example. So
No.
you do get the left field. I'm not going to call them left field because obviously Ahsoka's like a massive character, right? But this she was in this particular form with this particular actress. She was only in one episode, right?
Yeah.
So, but
You
I don't think we'll see anybody else release this. So I think it's great that Hot Toys
No.
do these characters and make them available to the fans.
And I will say, and this is positive, I will say that this Ahsoka line from Hot Toys rivals the Rogue One line.
Rogue One, yeah.
Mm.
It's getting there, isn't it?
Potentially with the last two they've just teased, which I think are incredible. I think it could surpass the Rogue One line. I mean, look at that. That's just. I mean, I must admit, I'd be half tempted by that. But
It actually makes you appreciate the outfits a little bit more because when you're watching the show, you don't really focus too much on the outfits and the kind of you blink and you miss it really. You're focusing on the dialogue and the action. But yeah, when you see these released as figures, you focus a little bit more on the costume and you realize what a great job they did.
Look at the face sculpt on that. I mean, it's just incredible. Absolutely
I love
incredible.
their costume design. It was just they look like medieval knights.
Mm.
It's just like
these characters are good.
Didn't the costume designer for Ahsoka pass away recently?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she did
Tragic.
Mandalorian as well.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
So like,
look at that.
He's passed as well, right? Hasn't he?
He
passed?
has.
Yeah, he passed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
before the show came out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was the best for me in the show. He was the most interesting character
yeah,
for me because he wasn't really a grey. He wasn't a Sith, was he? He wasn't a grey Jedi, but he just it was just a really
he was one where we kind of were quite intrigued to know what his backstory was, right? I think
I'm sure they would have filled it. Yeah, it's a shame though because it's. But Ray Stevens is an incredible actor.
Mm-hmm.
His hair and beard is
I think
so on point, huh?
Mhm.
some people were
Majestic.
sort of worried that they weren't going to make this because of his death. They were like, are they
Licensing.
going to make it?
Yeah.
Mm.
But I think it was only a matter of time before they did these two. Really, it was almost the fact that
there was a lot of demand for them.
Yeah.
So there's probably what do we think now? There's about 6 or 7 from Ahsoka release now.
Well,
Are you getting all of them? You getting
You've
all of them, Nathan?
Probably not all of them. I think what have we got? We've got young Ahsoka, old Ahsoka, Shin, Balin, Thrawn, Sabine, Chopper, Hera,
the Stormtrooper,
Hera.
what is it? The Death Trooper, is it?
Enoch.
Yeah, the Death Trooper, the dead Death Trooper, the dead Stormtrooper. Enoch, is it?
Enoch.
The guy out of Gladiator.
The only one they haven't done yet is Ezra, right?
Ezra, yeah, and Huang, the droid.
Look at that. That just looks like the actress. Just looks like a screenshot.
I also thought my first because I looked at it when I first got up in the morning, and I thought it was like rooted hair, like that. The hair sculpt looked that good.
Yeah.
Obviously, like just on a phone, so it's not like close up image, but I think I'd say this is better. I mean,
you see strands almost.
Awesome, but I'd say this is probably a better figure. I'm unsure on the Balin because I love it, but I don't think it's going to fit in with my collection. But I want to get Shin because I want her and Sabine because I don't
do
know
dioramas, right?
I do my dioramas, so I want Sabine and Shin to be fighting, and I was praying for Shin. So,
if you're so far into the line, I can't imagine it not fitting.
Well,
if you already have several.
It's not so much not fit. It's I'm having to be very picky now because
you have to be with Hot Toys.
I mean, I'm everything I have on pre-order or am going to order will either fit in with an existing scene or there's enough space for a new scene. But after that, basically, if Hot Toys announce a new like something else,
which they will.
I'm screwed. Sorry,
Which they will.
which
Or
they
it
will.
sounds
Well,
like-
yeah.
Well, we've got Acolyte coming soon, and we
Yeah.
haven't done anything from Andor, and I don't know if they ever will, but which is a bit of a shame, I think.
Yeah,
Missing a trick, really.
Yeah, there's something not quite right with that. There's no. I was really hoping they were going to do an art of book for Andor. We haven't seen any books, any behind the scenes.
Yeah,
Not a single
It's
thing.
really odd. Really odd.
Yeah, I think someone at Disney probably said, or like I've complained about that from day one, that there's been barely anything when it comes to collectibles that have come out because from Andor, that because it's such a mature kind of story, not necessarily like, sex and violence or whatnot, but like it's very like adult and suspenseful, and it's more of like a thriller, and there's politics, that it's not as easy to commercialize with. I don't think they think that people want Hot Toys or prop replicas or something that coming out of Andor. It almost reminds me of, I follow Formula One, and I was telling someone recently about years ago when Bernie Ecclestone, owned Formula One. He said women don't fucking watch it. No one who watches Formula One is going to watch it on YouTube. There's no reason why Formula One should have a Facebook page. Like all this social media stuff, all of this merch stuff. And since then, it's changed completely, 100%.
For sure.
And that's kind of like, I swear it's almost like they're blackballing Andor for some reason, because they don't think that there's a market for it.
It does feel like that, doesn't it? Yeah.
Even with art prints, posters, original art, it's just not as prevalent.
Well,
I
Hot Toys didn't do a Cassian, at least, because they didn't do one on the Rogue One line.
Correct.
I mean that I agree with you. Yeah, that agree with you, Nathan. That was they should have done a Cassian.
At least gone back and just done a Cassian from Rogue One.
Yeah,
and marketed it as a Rogue One Cassian, but which is strange.
Is it a rights issue with the likeness? Like, do you think Diego Luna doesn't want to play ball?
Well, maybe.
There's Hasbro. There's Hasbro figures of him though, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I thought he was a fan. He seems really sort of. Yeah. He's you see him at the cons and stuff, don't you? And he seems.
I've seen an interview with him where he actually talked about having some toys as a kid. So yeah, I don't think that can't be the case, really.
Yeah,
it could just be. I know this sounds silly, but there's a really random, like 3 or 4 minute clip of one of the guys that was like a head of Hot Toys, and it was surprising to most people because I think he was a Brit or an American, and he was talking about figures that if you ever frequented Sideshow Freaks, there was so many things that used to get teased, right? And people would be like, why isn't this amazing figure made, or the vehicles, etc. And he had said something that sometimes they just can't get the likeness quite right, although they have the intent to release a certain figure. If they can't get it right, they scrap it. And I'm wondering, I mean, it's a long shot, but I'm wondering if that might be one of the reasons why they haven't ever released an Andor. I mean, it might be. I mean, I can picture like a Andy Serkis in the prison jumpsuit. Like they would nail that. Just get the really interesting face and beard and hair and everything. But yeah, I mean, I think Andor might be a little tricky to capture. It could be that. But I remember seeing that about 4 or 5 years ago. It wasn't about Diego Luna in particular. He was just talking about certain figures and why some don't get released for licensing, some don't get released because they can't quite get the likeness or details right and things like that. And I always wondered, like, oh, maybe that's why we don't see some of them. Yeah, that would be amazing because I know there's this love-hate relationship, right, where a lot of us favor Andor, and then so many people have such a huge love for Ahsoka, even though a lot of us don't believe that it was that good. I mean, it's all subjective, right? But they went ham on the Ahsoka figures. They're releasing everything, which is fantastic. But it would be amazing to have like a Skarsgård and a Diego. Like imagine that little setup of Hot Toys. That'd be bananas. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
I'd love a Skarsgård figure. They would. Yeah. It's really strange. It's really strange. I mean, it's almost like it's a completely. It's almost like it's not even a Disney show. It's and it doesn't feel like a Disney show, and that's yes, it's
They
aimed
swore
at.
at it, didn't they?
Well, I mean, it is I suppose it's aimed at a different demographic, but even still, it's Hot Toy. I mean, I can't see. I could still seeing it being risk free for Hot Toys to release, a Diego Luna. It wouldn't.
Yeah.
It wouldn't. I don't think it would sit on the shelves. Andor is really, really popular because it was taking risks. What Disney can't afford to do is carry on. I don't think continuing. They've got to do something completely different. And Andor was completely different. I'm talking about tone. It was more adult. There was no lightsabers in it, no use of the Force. Characters were vulnerable. We even know what's going to happen. I mean, I didn't think this was going to be any good, really, because we know what happens to Cassian. But I think it's filled out his story even more than it did in Rogue One. I can't understand it. I mean, I know I've heard rumors like Dave Filoni's not that keen on it, or it's I think they've just got
I feel like Tony, I feel like it's missing that like popcorn bucket in your face entertainment element. It's more of like reading a book. It's that, like you said, a different demographic of a little bit older people. It's got more of a film vibe to it. It's less Star Warsy, but not less Star Wars. Like you said, maybe lack of the lightsabers and the Force and things like that. But it has so much more like world building and character building, and the story plays out, but it's still very enjoyable to watch. But there's no big moments. There's no Hayden Christensen makes a return, or like a battle between Vader and Obi-Wan happens once again. We're not getting any of that. Sure. And I think that's where some of the risk or the apprehension comes in, as is this more of a risk than a win, right? But
we'll probably get some stuff in season 2. We've still got the Cassian and K2SO meeting to happen. That's probably the kind of the big reunion that I suspect is going to happen. But
what I enjoyed about it was the take on the Empire. They really were, those is it the ISB, those scenes where they're sat round plotting about how they're going to they were going to raid that ship, weren't they? And then the guy goes, just kill them, just make it look like an accident, make it look like you've had to board them. And it was just very serious. And they were actually, it made the Empire look really, really sinister. And they
gave them more depth, didn't they? I think they gave both sides more depth. Yeah, for sure.
And then that guy, the guy that walks in and he just said, I was with the Emperor today and stuff, little things like that. You just get little cues that just tell you it's in the Star Wars universe. But I mean, okay, it's not maybe for young kids, but it's not just for old people either. I think there is. No. It's a really good series that you can binge watch it. It's the best thing they've done outside of Light and Magic for me.
Bar none, it's definitely one of the better, if not best. I had a hard time connecting to Obi-Wan, connecting to even Mando moving forward was hard. Book of Boba Fett, we all know what happened with that. I mean, I was with Matt during the finale. I think I fell asleep on his lap. I spilled my soda all over me because I was literally dozing off. And with Andor, I was just like Rogue One, I was on the edge of my seat. Like every episode, I couldn't wait for the next one, and just was.
It's great storytelling.
I think fantastic. If they can just get a nice balanced mix. Look, there's some people that really liked Ahsoka. It wasn't for me, but I could see why people really, really enjoyed it. For me, a lot of these shows, the disappointment for me was Kenobi, because I just thought the writing was terrible. I don't think I thought the acting was great, but the actual writing of the story, this is where it makes and breaks these TV shows, is in the writing. And I just felt they didn't have an understanding of the character of Obi-Wan and Vader. There was no. It just missed it completely for me.
I think the scenes that we saw with Obi-Wan and Vader, they were generally quite good, the ones that they were in. Then I felt like some of the other stuff was like, without being, Reva, but Reva was not a good character, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I just don't think they wasted too much time on almost meaningless characters.
Characters we don't care about. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
I really wanted to see, and you saw like 10 seconds of it. I wanted to see
Quite
the
right.
sort of the Vader and Anakin character. He's right on the edge. Can Obi-Wan bring him back to the light? There was obviously still good in him, and I just wanted to see more of that conflict within you know the Vader and Anakin character. And we just didn't get it.
That scene though, where he said to Kenobi, "You didn't kill Anakin."
That was good.
That was actually that gave me goosebumps. I mean, I thought that was
hair raising. Yeah,
there wasn't enough of that. I thought they would explore that a bit more. I thought they would. I thought he would be tempted a little bit more to come back to the. He didn't really make an effort. Kenobi, he just chucked a load of rocks at him at the end and smashed his suit out. And you have 5 seconds of Hayden, and because they're both terrific actors. Definitely. They really are. I mean,
and actually that's a good point. I think Hayden really did shine, not just in that, but also in Ahsoka. His acting.
I thought he was great. Yeah,
and I think it shows that he was just hampered by a really poor script, but in the prequels.
I agree. Yeah.
Well, I think his performance in Revenge of the Sith is really good. I maybe
there are some lines that he says which I don't know, man. I find it cheesy, but certainly better in Revenge of the Sith than Attack of the Clones. But I think the latest stuff just really did demonstrate his acting capability.
I've always
maybe
thought
we could.
Yeah, Nathan, we know you love him.
Maybe we could segue on that to this.
Oh yeah.
So let me see if I can.
Did you buy this, Nathan?
No.
Oh,
story
mate! If I was prequel fan, I would have been all over these prints.
Well, yes, you'd think so, wouldn't you?
Nathan's not allowed to talk about it.
Amazing.
I made a boo boo.
What happened was we didn't have a show to enable Nathan to buy this.
No, I wanted it. So what happened was I saw this. I messaged TC saying, "What's the deal with this? Like, when's it coming out? Like stuff." And I didn't realize when she got back to me, I didn't realize it was coming out in like 2 hours from then. So I wasn't really paying attention. And then I checked my phone like 3 hours later, and Cece's like, "Get it! It's up! What are you doing?" So I missed it, and that was a pre-sale as well. So I could have I probably was almost guaranteed to get one if I got it in time. And then the general sale, there was no hope.
Gosh.
So kicking myself. I didn't listen to CC.
Do you have the other two? Do you have the previous?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I don't. Yeah. So, and I have already got like lots of Revenge of the Sith stuff. I can't remember what they're called, but a while back I got the set of the prequel art prints from. I can't remember.
Who's the artist?
So this one is Chris Valentine, and I will say a lot. I know a lot of people who got this knowing they wanted the set, like they had the Phantom Menace. Which, funny enough, we were talking about Celebration earlier. When Phantom Menace, that poster came out, it was during Celebration. I was in the pub, and I would not have been able to order it had Chris Valentine not messaged me and been like, "Hey, it's up, order it."
That was a name drop.
yeah. I told with the time difference and stuff, because he's in South Africa. I was like, "What the shit?" Speaking of name drop, he actually did list a few people that he thanked for his whole process, and that it was like his childhood dream to do Star Wars, and then he's completed the prequel trilogy, and we certainly hope he'll get a chance to do the original trilogy. But he did list me of the people he thanked, which I thought was crazy, insane.
That's right.
And you didn't have to do that at all. And I do think that, like Nathan, we talked about it was like and we talked about it behind the scenes. Like we knew it was gonna be a bloodbath because it was just so popular. And what they did was they did a pre-sale the day before the public sale for anyone who had bought either of the first two. But the good thing about this is I think they all stand on their own really well. It's not like you have to have a wall with all three of them.
True.
So I told Nathan
pick your favorite, right?
Artist proofs, and I'll try my best to get them one. They didn't, for options, they didn't have a lot. It was basically, this one's the regular. The edition size, or like the run, was 250 for this, whereas the Phantom Menace and the Attack of the Clones was 200. So they did at the last hour up it to 250, knowing it was going to be quite popular, which is cool. And then the variant was just the untitled version.
I prefer the titled version. I don't know. I think that's kind of
like
interesting.
there's nothing really going on at the bottom.
At the bottom.
Yeah.
Dark.
It's almost like something's missing.
Yep. I do like that it has the black on the top and the bottom to kind of anchor it. So,
right.
And I was tempted, but part of me is like, I've already started with the first and the second with the title, so I continue.
Yeah, the tiles make it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what this is. Like, you know, you don't need the title to tell you that it's Revenge of the Sith, but I think the title just it's not too bold. The title, it's not a massive size. Doesn't overpower the poster.
It's not like full.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the nice thing about I'm a big fan of the Star Wars logos themselves, like particularly the original trilogy, you know, with the Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, and Star Wars. They all had slightly different fonts and stuff, but so yeah, I kind of like the logo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he nailed this, and I remind him all the time that he made me buy an Attack of the Clones poster, which isn't easy to do. Yeah, and but no, I think, like I said, this was amazing. The details are fantastic, and the fact that he works in oil paints, and no one does that really in the poster game, I think is quite significant. They also had, I don't talk about these often, but they had an acrylic version, so like an acrylic panel. It's a 3mm thick panel that was limited to 50. Those are cool, but the only problem you run into is storing them if you're not going to display them, because they have to. Right. It's not like you can put those in a portfolio. And then this was the artist proofs for the Attack of the Clones.
Like that. That's
weren't
cool.
familiar with this one.
Like that.
Yeah, I think
they're really cool.
Yeah, the colors, like I said, on
I
this
love
episode, posters
are
are better than the movie by a long shot.
Well, I think these are better than the original posters for the movie, in my opinion. I mean,
I agree.
You know.
Yeah, so like everyone knows and we'll talk. I think the next one's going to be relevant to that. Like everyone knows the Drew Struzans. I remember when I think about, because people do ask me like, what got you into movie posters? As a kid, I remember being enamored with the teaser posters for like Phantom Menace, like the one Anakin walking by in the shadow. Yeah,
I have the original. It's the only original one of the original posters I have is that particular one, actually.
And that one, if I had the wall space, I'd be tempted. But talk about nostalgia trips. I wanted to show this. So this
is that Matt Ferguson, that one?
Matt Ferguson.
Yeah. So this is a few weeks ago, I want to say, that it came out. Funny enough, I'd done a live stream with the guys over at Spice Runners Lounge. Stayed up way too late. Woke up to like 20 messages regarding this, which caught me off guard, even though it's so stupid because it's the 25th anniversary. It makes sense that he would do one. But I think this is, and it's funny, I talked about like people tend to remember the Drew Struzan posters. Like Drew Struzan did also have the mall kind of looming in the background. But the details on this are really gorgeous. Like I posted a few, I think, in the group. I almost wish that some of those detail shots that he posted, like the close-ups of the likenesses and even Anakin towards the bottom, were available as prints by themselves. But this is there's been some that have like leaked out. I say leaked out, like I think some theaters have given away or sold their one sheets, which has the full title saying it's returning to theaters in May. But as far as that, like I would bet money that this ends up being released as a screen print by Bottleneck, just like the other ones. And it would probably be the same kind of thing with the anniversary, just not the full title block behind or underneath episode 1. And then probably the variant, which is like the desaturated, like black and white. And if you're like me and you have no wall space, also, there's this dude who happened to just do a prequel set that was pretty fantastic. His name's Chris Valentine. If you want to Google his stuff, I did not think I was gonna have like 3 really great Phantom Menace posters with the last 3 years.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And yeah, I'm gonna be stuck with them. First world problems, but
I mean, I'll take them off your hands if you don't want them.
Have you got room to display any of them, CC? Are you going to have to store all of them? Or are you going to be able to?
Yeah, so I am. My plan with this, I'm not sure, but I am going to look into getting a little more flexible options because I'm running out of wall space. So there is an area that I've kind of cordoned off that I do want to put. They're called spotlight displays. I've talked about them, I think, but I don't own one yet to like endorse them as something worth it. But I've seen a lot of art print collectors have them, and it's kind of like a bracket that you screw into the wall on all 4 corners, and it's metal, and it kind of flips up, so you could open it up, and then inside the bracket are acrylic sheets where you could put the poster art print between the sheets. And some people even use them to store like 5 or 6 prints at a time, and then just take the acrylic out, switch up the order so that the one you want to display is on top, and then put them back on the wall. So I planned on doing that for the Chris Valentine prequels so that whatever day I feel like it, I could have episode 1, 2, or 3 displayed. With these ones, I don't know if I have space for like this version, but I'm debating doing that same kind of spotlight display where I could switch them out in a room, my other room that has like mainly black and white. So if I do display anything, I think it would be the more desaturated version of this. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like, if it's going to be basically black and white and then just their sabers are what's colorful. But I think, and also I would imagine that they would do this as a timed release. So if people don't check my messages like Nathan, they won't be entirely screwed, because that tends to be like a 48 or 72 hour release. The only one they didn't do that was timed was Rogue One, but because this is part of the quote Skywalker saga and the anniversary, I think it would probably benefit them to do it a timed release and then have the black and white desaturated ones be the limited ones.
That's a lovely. It really is a nice poster. Really is nice.
Yeah, but I think it's like we talked about. We're just running out of wall space. And
he's got a great handle on executing like spatial layout with characters. He's one of the best to do it. Because I think it was you that mentioned it, CC, where it was a bit surprising to see Maul so front and center, but it works so well.
Yeah.
Have we? I don't know, Parminder, Tony, if you know, have they announced whereabouts they're going to be showing it in the UK?
I've not heard, actually. I suspect it'll be the standard view Odeon. I remember when Return of the Jedi was shown. Was it last year? Return of the Jedi.
Last May,
yeah. That was at Showcase. It was at Odeon and View. So I suspect it'll be similar. But there weren't many. It wasn't on for many weeks, and there weren't that many showings.
I think I had to go to Kingston, which is only about an hour away from me. It was wasn't the end of the world. Actually, talking of, sorry, I was after Christmas. I don't know if you guys know, they were showing the original trilogy.
They were,
yeah.
I went along to see Empire. So I've seen them all 3 of them now in cinemas, which is pretty cool.
I was going to say, I think with the Phantom Menace, this is going to be a huge. I think it's going to be a huge turnout, because I think all the prequel kids now aren't kids anymore; they're adults. So this is their like OT. So I think this, because I remember when they released it in 3D, it was a bit of a disaster, in terms of like
attendance. Because their plan was to release all of them in 3D.
But they were, and because of the poor attendance to that, I think this. I think this.
I'll probably go see it. Actually, I might take my daughter to go see it at the cinema.
I'm just
I'm
debating
thinking about
times I want to go see it.
I did want to show these.
I've thought about it. I'm not going.
I tell you what it is though. I'll be honest though. One of the things that I really enjoy about the prequels is the soundtrack. I think it's got a phenomenal soundtrack. The entire prequel trilogy, and one of the reasons why it's so great to see it in the cinema is for that really.
The lightsaber fight on the big screen, and the pod race,
and the pod race, yeah,
absolutely incredible sounds and visual. I still think visually it's still really good.
I'll just go to sleep when Jar Jar comes on.
I just think some of the CGI in it now, it hasn't aged. I just don't think they've aged that well.
No, particularly Jabba and some of the CGI characters.
Because they've had to touch up. They've touched up the special editions, haven't they? You know, the Jabba got redone, and I mean, there's so many editions now of these films. It's really difficult to even know what the original, not just the original trilogy, but maybe even the prequels, because I think they may start getting the touch-up treatment as well.
My favorite worthless pub trivia regarding the Phantom Menace is that the pod racing, the audio for the pod racers was V12 Formula One engines.
All right.
Yeah. It was so random. I don't know who made that decision or what, but yeah, that was I remember reading that, and it was. There
was a YouTube video recently with Ben Burt.
I think
he talks about the sound for the pods in that.
I wanted to show these quickly just because we're talking about concept art quite a bit and like those kind of quick sketches. So Matt Ferguson calls these.
Something I would do.
Yeah, these are right, exactly. He calls them thumbnails. And I do like them because it kind of shows his process without having to like talk about it or make it some philosophical thing. But these are kind of ideas he had for the concept and the layout. And lately he's actually been printing some of these depending on the poster. Cool. He's done like little tiny ones. So I am getting the Return of the Jedi one to try to put with my quad once I get all that displayed. But so it kind of gives you an idea of what he thought about. It's like Maul was kind of early on, like an idea for the backdrop.
He's really lucked out, hasn't he, with Lucasfilm kind of doing, asking him to do their official posters. He's. I mean, of all the artists, I mean, there's so many artists out there, right?
I think I asked him about Andor as to whether or not he would do a poster for Andor, and he was like, "Yeah, they just haven't hired me for it." And I don't know like the inside baseball on that. If like I think for him he has to be asked, but I do know like he did one for a Star Trek series, like I think it's a like animated series called Lower Decks, and I think he literally just asked, "Can I do a poster for this?" But yeah, absolutely. Like I think if Disney says jump, he says how high, and I don't blame him.
Cool. No, absolutely. Gosh, it must be a dream come true, really.
Yeah, and this is what he finally landed on. I do think that, like we talk about, I think Empire Strikes Back changed a lot of things in that regard, as far as how often he's been asked to do. Like if you think we talk about a lot about Star Wars posters, he's done like probably 5 times more Marvel posters too for them. And you mentioned like Ogden Theaters. I think most of those Marvel releases will come with. They've done like the giveaways, the small posters from him. So yeah, just really cool. And I just hope they get there. I just wonder how long we're gonna have to wait for that poster to get printed or released. But that's all I had for like prepared stuff to talk about.
Can you bring up that Dune figure, that Paul Atreides figure from InArt?
The InArt one? Yeah, let me see if I can find it.
Because again, just when they previewed that, it really gave a great indication of the costume, more so than I remember from the movie when I watched the first one, and it just showed how fantastic the costume design is.
That figure is just
Yeah,
Can't
it's
believe
great.
it.
Yeah. And the price was like what, $500 or something? I know it's a lot of money for a 6 scale
Not
figure.
even. No,
Right.
if you buy it direct from InArt, all
Yeah.
all in with fees and shipping, I think it was like $470.
So that's not bad. That's
And I
That's with
don't-
the rooted hair. Then you can get it
with
for
the
like
rooted hair.
400.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you get it for
Yeah.
like $390 with the regular like Hot Toys hair.
And I do
Yeah.
know, again, I was on vacation, so I feel like I'm playing a huge amount of catch up. But one of my friends, I'm trying to think who it was either Collecting Weekly, in their Facebook group, or maybe Casual Nerd Problems, had a list. I think it was Collecting Weekly. Had a list
Collecting
of
Weekly, they did a great job with that CC.
Oh yeah, they had a whole list of every distributor, retailer, and
Okay.
what their price was, what their
taxes,
deposit
yeah.
was, whether you had
Yeah.
to pay for shipping. Because I think there is quite a disparity between like who you order from and the final price. But I think that's an InArt thing, because I remember the Joker, the Heath Ledger Joker was kind of like that, where some people bought it from one person and it was like almost $200 more than if you bought
Wow.
it through another person.
To like
I don't.
what Carmen was saying, I think a couple of them on there, like Big Bad was like 600 or 700. A couple of them were up there, yeah. So they were like between 5 and 7, depending on who you order from. But if you go direct, I think it was like 470. And then a couple places I didn't know this, because I don't follow the 6 scale community like I used to. But I guess a couple of them CC, as you mentioned, like with Collecting Weekly, some had offered like discount codes for the pre-order,
Mhm.
which gave you like a little bit of a deal.
So this is the rooted hair, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
incredible.
And was the price difference really crazy between the rooted hair and the non?
Don't think
Like
there was a
$100.
massive difference.
Yeah, it was like $100, $890 or $100 or something.
Hmm.
Because everything's the same other than the hair. So
Everything
it's
else
only
is the same.
$90. Yeah.
I just think if you're going, if you're getting an art figure, you've got to go rooted hair.
I agree.
I don't think
Right.
it's like I've got the Gandalf. Obviously, I don't think they didn't do a sculpted version of Gandalf, but I've ordered the Aragorn as well, and it's just like the rooted hair just makes it look so much better, and it's worth that little bit of extra money to spend. And I guess like being a hairdresser, I can style it a bit better than some people, but I actually gave my Gandalf's beard a bit of a trim.
Did you?
Yeah, just to tidy up, and I used my beard brush on it. But it
I
worked.
was gonna make a joke there where it's like it's almost like getting the Rancor, or I'm sorry, the Wampa maquette and not getting it with the sketch. You might as well get the sketch. So if you're gonna go for the InArt,
Oh yeah.
you might as well just pony up the $80 or $100 to get the rooted hair version.
One thing I
It'll be the more coveted version, right? Just like
Yeah.
the Regal stuff.
Yeah.
I think the ones with
Because
the
the hot
sketches.
toy, the hot toys with the rooted hair, they kind of look weird. They look like Barbie dolls. I prefer hot toys with plastic hair, but you're right. I think if you're gonna go InArt, like Nathan said, I think you got to go rooted. But one thing I didn't notice, and maybe I just missed it or overlooked it, was anybody aware of either here or who's watching the shipping, like the turnaround, the ETA, like what the shipping dates are on these InArt figures? Is it like 2 years, like hot toys, or?
Well, it's so they originally when they did, so the first few figures they did, Heath Ledger Joker, Gandalf, and Pennywise, I believe, and it took a while to get them out, like about a year and a half, almost 2 years. But I've seen lots of interviews on various YouTube channels with people directly from InArt saying that they're upping their what's the word?
Production schedule?
That's it. Yeah, the production schedule, because and I think that's the same with it. Obviously, I know Queen Studios and stuff, but InArt was a brand new company, so they're going to have to start somewhere. They're not going to be able to be on Hot Toys level doing,
No, not from day one.
figures a year, and whereas I'd rather them do like 5 figures a year and then get them out in a year, rather than having to wait, because it's the root it's the rooted hair that takes the most amount of time, really. But yeah, this
Looks great.
This is crazy. This figure.
I just thought this was about this.
I don't think a year is too bad, and that makes sense, Nathan. Like if they're just starting up and just coming out with 6 scale figures, they have to kind of ramp up the resources and sort of the know-how of step one to final step, and then now they get that kind of locked down and know how to do it effectively. It makes sense.
There's
this
like
is
teething
this is a
problems
great
with any new company. It's going to
What's their QC
Yeah.
been like on their kind of early figures, Nathan? Have there been any major issues or?
I think there was a cut. Like that's one thing they are amazing at that Hot Toys doesn't do enough of. They listen to the customers, and if I think the only thing that I've heard really was the magnetic bases. Like people's jokers were like falling off the bases. They weren't.
Oh,
But
the magnets aren't strong enough, or is it the ankles aren't?
They weren't strong enough. And also, they only had like the magnets
certain
on,
areas,
like, 2 parts. So you had to. Whereas now, I think they're magnetizing the whole base.
The whole base. That makes sense.
And I've not had an issue with my Gandalf at all falling off or anything.
So that's cool because a lot of people don't like 6-scale figures because of the crotch grabbers, right? So that really solves that particular problem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't use bases anyway, really, and most of my figures can stay up without unless it's like Sideshow Grievous, but
you can't even stand with the base.
but yeah, that's something I do really like. There was an issue with a few people's rooted hair, but I think obviously it's hard to sort of tell someone that, oh, here's the figure and you have to style it yourself and do this yourself. But for me, obviously I know what I'm doing, or supposedly it's just a very much smaller scale. So it's you have to put I put a bit of I put some beard balm in Gandalf's beard just to tame it, and it looks good.
Makes a difference. It's like anything. You get these collectors who get Hot Toys literally out the box on a shelf, don't spend any time posing it, futzing it, or anything. And you got some people who spend a lot of effort, and the difference between those two displays is night and day. One makes you want to throw your Hot Toys in a bin, and one makes you want to keep it and think, right, these are amazing figures. It's all in the the attention to detail.
The other day, my sister-in-law, she'd seen my collection for the first time, and she didn't realize at first that I had posed them. She thought they were statues, and she's like, "Oh, so you put them in these positions?" And so I was like, "Yeah." Like, and that's half the fun of it for me, is that because if you just bought a figure, put it in I know people like museum poses, and they do work in certain situations, but some, especially like, I don't know, if you've got an Ahsoka or a figure that's quite a dynamic character, you're going to want to put it in some sort of pose. They're just sort of standing there with their arms folded or something. Yeah.
Now, would anyone get this?
No,
I'd love to, but it's just I don't do anything other than the Star Wars right now, just simply because of the outlay on Star Wars. But it's very tempting.
I was very tempted, but I felt like I was only doing it because I saw Dune. I watched the first one literally about 20 minutes before we left to go to see the second one. So I was in big Dune hype, and then a couple of days later this came out, and even my girlfriend, she didn't love my collection, let's say, but she loved Dune, and I was showing pictures of this pool, and she was like, "Oh my god, that's so cool!" Like, oh, does it come with this? Does it come with that? And I was thinking to myself, maybe I might get this just to sort of have her look at it. But then she asked me how much it was, and obviously I didn't tell her.
That's when the gaslighting starts. Raffle.
Obviously, I didn't tell her.
I told, because obviously in-art is a lot more than Hot Toys, but I told her it was around the same price as Hot Toy. She was like, "Whoa, that's so expensive," and I'm like, "Yeah, really."
I sold my Dark Side Anakin for more than what this is selling for. So on the secondary market, Hot Toys can go for a shitload.
But I mean, recently the market's tanked.
It has.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about
It
it.
has.
I think I sold a Palpatine, like Return of the Jedi Palpatine, but it was loose, to be fair, and it's the one without the chair.
Mm.
But I sold it for like 200, and that was shipped with, it came with a base and stuff. But I think I bought that. Bearing in mind it was loose, I bought it for about 300.
Mm.
In a box, that figure used to get like up to 400.
More than that. Yeah. Yeah.
So they are. I mean, certain, like you said, Dark Side Anakin is still one of the more expensive ones, but there's some things you barely get you're losing money on them now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't give them away anymore. It's crazy. Me and Matt used
Yeah.
to say it was like printing money when you bought them, but
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's
Hazard Blue says, okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was noticing is basically Star Wars and was based off it. Actually, fun fact is George took a lot of Star Wars from Dune, and I've been watching a lot of podcasts and listening to a lot lately just because me and Matt have been like completely obsessed with Dune. Frank Herbert back in I think early 80s, I think by the time Return of the Jedi had come out, and he had said, I'm not necessarily saying that George copied me, but he's like, it's quite a coincidence when there's over 16 points of reference from my books, found in Star Wars. And, it was a little satire and sarcasm. Obviously, Star Wars is what it is, but it was a lot of things were heavily borrowed from Dune, which, is fantastic.
Well, I know Matt has the Prime 1 statue, or at least he did, and he took some fantastic photos of it. But I like stuff like this, like a 1/6 scale figure. It means that if you're just a sci-fi fan and not just drink the Kool-Aid with Star Wars, I'm probably talking to the wrong audience. Because I think a lot of people here have drank. But that's like I ordered a small Dune prop recently. And I'd like to get more into that. And I'm the same way with art prints where I'm like, yeah, I don't mind having a Dune art print amongst a sea of Star Wars prints. So I think this is nice and small enough that you could incorporate it into a collection, even if it is on its own. Would be I think it would be a disservice if they just did Paul and not the other characters, though.
Well, that was going to be my question within art in general. It seems like they're just doing single characters. Yeah. I mean, Nathan, correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, you're right to an extent. They're doing that. It seems like in these sort of big lights, so they're only going to do, Pennywise, which again, but they're doing so they did Gandalf and they're doing Aragorn. And
they're doing. That's right.
Legolas has been teased to be the next one, and they've also done. So they've got Harry from Harry Potter.
Oh, Harry Potter.
They've also teased Ron and Hermione. So they're doing like little. I don't know what.
Okay.
Oh, and Dumbledore as well. So they've got like.
Right.
I guess like
so they are doing a line.
They're not gonna, because I think with the good thing about Hot Toys, they're gonna do. InArt's never gonna do something like, I don't know, a Wicket or something like that, like a side character. Whereas Hot Toys will, and they'll do. Obviously, InArt won't do Star Wars, but you know what I mean. Like
sure.
Like
I know what you mean. All the different variants of Leia and stuff that Hot Toys did. Yeah, if InArt were ever to do one, they'd probably just do the classic, A New Hope one, I guess.
And I remember
this is great.
The Harry Potter was also very reasonable. It's a young Harry Potter, but I think it was like I almost don't want to say how much it was because it was not. It was almost half this, I think.
But he is smaller, so maybe it's a smaller. But he comes with a load of stuff, so I'm.
Yeah,
I'm
can you imagine the Bene Jesuit as an InArt figure?
Oh, Jessica. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm tempted by the Harry Potter.
There's too many Fremen wouldn't look.
Yeah. And so obviously, Nathan, you've got an InArt figure. Is it just Gandalf that you have in hand?
Yeah, Gandalf.
What's the quality of the stitch like? The clothes and stuff. Is it a lot better than Hot Toys, or is it kind of on par? Or
it's incredible. Honestly, it was probably one of the. It was an experience I had so I did it on my day off. I unboxed it. I had the Lord of the Rings soundtrack playing whilst I unboxed it, and it was like it was the feeling I got when I unboxed my first Hot Toy.
Mhm.
But it's just, I mean, I can get it. I could quickly show it if you wanted. I could or I don't know. I can't flip my camera, can I? But it's can we see?
Yeah.
Not there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it
it
is
looks
incredible, and like
Yeah, it's great.
yeah, like I said, the beard is tamed and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, the fabric just drapes really well.
Mhm.
It's really weighted. Like, I mean,
You know what it reminds me of, Nathan? You know how
Yeah.
when you put like a hot toy next to a sideshow 6 scale,
yeah,
it's
That's
like in that it's the equivalent of a hot toy next to a sideshow. It's the
this
inert next
is
to a hot toy.
one of my
It's like
favorite
the exact-
things. They've got
Oh, that's
every
really cool.
single page
Wow.
of the book, and even I won't get it
That's
out because
crazy
I'll probably
attention.
lose it.
Mm.
But the one ring, obviously, bearing in mind the finger size, the
Mm.
one ring has got the writing on the inscriptions on it. It's that
Nice.
detailed. It's just
Wow.
yeah, it's just something that yeah, all my collection is Star Wars, but I couldn't pass that up.
No, that's cool. Yeah, it's very tempting to kind of dip into an in-art figure just to see what it's like in hand, but just like anything, does that then become a rabbit hole?
Well, yeah, I've done it with. I mean, part of me that because I wasn't sure about this Harry Potter, and then I'm like, that was just an amazing experience unboxing that figure. It was just like, I think maybe because I've got so many Hot Toys, that kind of the novelty kind of wears off with certain figures.
It does.
So much to say. But this was just like something else. Like I don't
Because
think
J&D are doing a 6 scale line as well, aren't they? They've announced a
yeah,
6 scale line.
but they're doing I think they can only. They're doing like 4. They're doing Joker. The other Joker. What's his name?
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix. Joker, yeah.
Mhm.
But it's a 4.
They've teased a Christopher Reeve Superman as well, haven't they? I think I saw a show where they teased, which it looked really bad in that showcase. But if they nail that, that's probably one that I might get.
I think there's like because I think they're charging like $2,000 or something for their pack.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Because
for a pack, okay.
Because they have to there's 4 figures, I think.
Okay.
But then I think they're like, well, there has to be they can't just sort of do one figure for £300 or something like that. They've got I think they have to have a certain bar or something they're putting 4 figures in with it, but it's just crazy expensive. And
that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of money. Yeah.
You've got to really love Joker to have 4 figures of the same character from the same. I mean, I've got lots of Luke Skywalkers, but from the same film, and where his, it's a bit much.
Yeah.
And InArt just did a Joker anyway, so I think that's pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger one.
I know. The InArt did a Joaquin Phoenix Joker. Well, they're doing one anyway. So.
I think the market's oversaturated with Jokers. Personally, I think there's far too many. I understand that. I understand why people like Heath Ledger's Joker, but to have that many different figures of him just seems like overkill.
Yeah, it is.
But I'm not a Batman collector. But CC, you are.
Yeah.
So maybe you think it's.
I do question if I ever want to change up my setup, just so that I don't get the questions about like, do you collect Star Wars at all? Because of this stuff. But I'm just selfish, and I like to see my Star Wars stuff that's facing me. So we're for like future programming stuff, we're probably doing a show on Tuesday. So check that out. It'll be a little different. It won't be like a rehash of everything we talked about today. There might be some things that are like talked about again, but probably Tuesday night. Hopefully, me, Matt, and Jason will be on for that. And as far as the UK stuff, Nathan, I'll get on you about checking your messages because we'd like to start doing this at least like once a month.
Yeah,
You guys. And like the middle for us, it's the middle of a Saturday. For you guys, it's quite late at night, so we certainly appreciate it. Was there anything else you guys wanted to talk about or plug, like from the hyperdrive? Anything? Dude, I missed a week. Like I was on vacation. Did I miss an exclusive?
Oh, you
Don't
missed
think
six of them. You've missed. Six.
Someone should have
Yeah.
messaged me about them.
No, it's got. Yeah, we've. There's nothing planned at the moment. I think there is stuff coming down the line, but I think they're slowing down this year on the number of exclusives. I think there was just a realization last year that both Christian and Luke who drive the exclusives in the group. They've done an absolutely incredible job. Christian, as always, does an incredible job bringing these exclusives to the group. But I think this year, he's just slowing down a little bit because it is logistically trying to do one a month. I think it was just too much. I think it's just too much for people's wallets, and I think they are just slowing down this year. But we know of some things that are coming that are really
There's some exciting stuff coming. Yeah,
there is. There's some really incredible stuff coming down the line. I just don't know when it is. So they're working on it.
I appreciate the spacing them out. Because I think it's also competing with everything else that's coming out, right? Like,
for sure.
So much stuff, just so many things being released. I think it's it's a lot. It's a lot for people to take in.
Like, don't you dare do an exclusive when Regal Robot's planning something in the wings. You might get some hate.
He's releasing something every month. I mean, I don't.
Yeah,
Tom, slow down if you're listening. So slow down, please.
Well, and I think you kind of said it earlier, or at least I think Parminder said it, and it kind of reminds me of like I think Christian changed a lot of his collection and pared down significantly from what he had before. So I think it's like the quality over quantity thing. And I think that not that any of the exclusives haven't been quality, but I think you do appreciate them more when they're not as prolific, when you could think about them and save for them and all that kind of stuff.
I prefer, me personally, I prefer like sort of, 4 a year, maybe 1 a quarter, and just make them events. But last year was a bit difficult. I mean, obviously they had to liaise with, particularly if there were signatures involved, getting the signatures in, paid for, moved around, and then the prop maker has a time slot then to manufacture the product. And I think a lot, but it was a lot last year, and I think it was recognised, and just to take the pressure off Christian as well. He just does so much. I think this year he just needs to. I'd like to think he can relax and just enjoy the group. It's there's a lot of people posting on there now, so it's we're growing organically and it's great fun. Just if he can just, I think we are going to learn from last year and just sort of slow down a little bit, but the quality will be high from the pieces we know that are coming. It's going to be. I still think it's going to be a pretty special year.
Cool. Everyone prepare your wallets. You heard it here first. And I don't know if Jason's there to plug anything that we're doing besides the Tuesday show.
I'm here. Yeah. I think Tuesday we're doing like a Dune discussion. Is that correct?
Yep.
Or, yeah.
I was told
so I think we're gonna...
So I'm excited.
I'm sorry, Cece?
I was told there's going to be poster talk involved.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna have a little bit of an open discussion. Not sure if we're gonna do spoilers. I think Matt wanted to maybe hash it out with you and see what your thoughts were. Okay. Maybe not, and then possibly there's actually a decent amount of collectibles that have come out since Dune 2 versus the first Dune. So yeah, I think we're gonna go over a few of those. Some interesting pieces for sure. So I got a list of those that we're gonna look at. But yeah, other than that, I think
Cool.
you know,
There can't be any
I mean,
spoilers.
yeah,
There's a book that was written many years ago.
well, I mean, for those who haven't seen, I mean, a lot of people haven't read the
No,
book either, you know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Thank you, Evan. Yes, I survived driving. Everyone else, I think, survived as well. The whole carload survived with me driving the ship today. But yeah, I think we'll.
Great job, Cece.
Yeah,
Thank
you did
you.
a fantastic job, CC. Really good.
I think
You can
we'll
sack
leave it at
Matt.
that.
I wasn't
And
worried at all.
I know Matt's still he can have the wheel whenever. Yeah. And yeah, I know he wanted to stop by today, but I think he's got those kids into soccer and stuff and playing outside. Like, can't they just stay inside and just collect Star Wars stuff like the rest of us? Like, I don't understand why they have to be physically fit and healthy and all this other stuff. But
What's soccer?
It's couch
Footy?
or football.
football.
Oh,
Yeah. So like I said, we'll try to do this at least once a month.
Sounds good.
And of course we'll post it in the group. If you're not in the Facebook group, check it out. It's the same name. And you'll get to see me post way too much stuff now that I'm back from vacation and playing catch up. But with that, thank you all, and let me see if I could show us out without screwing stuff up next time. Bye.
See you, everyone.